Welcome to another very rainy day in England and the new facelifted Peugeot 508 Saloon. Now I have to say this car is quite an attractive looking thing, wouldn't you say, with its wide chromed grille, nice proportions, LED slashes on the front bumper. I mean, it's not bad looking, considering that this is the entry-level active model, so it misses all of the chrome on the sides and the big bling-bling alloy wheels. So for it to be in base spec looking pretty respectable, that's no bad thing at all, is it? Now this segment is highly competitive. You only have to look at the likes of the Mazda 6 and the Mondeo to see what this car is up against. But I have to say, price-wise, it does quite well for itself. You can have one from £23,125. That's with the 1.6 litre diesel engine that we've got in here that produces 120 brake horsepower. But the standard kit that comes with it is the sort of thing that bumps up the price on its rivals. So, as standard, you get these 17-inch alloy wheels. You get the touchscreen infotainment display with satellite navigation and Bluetooth. You also get dual zone climate control and cruise control. That's not bad at all. And it certainly makes this car a good proposition for value for money. But then there's two sides to every coin. There is how this car presents itself on paper and how it presents itself in the real world. I'm pleased to report it does quite a good job in reality as well. It's really quiet. I think that's the first thing that hits you about this 508 is the refinement levels are really good. The engine, once it's up to temperature, is hardly noticeable unless you really put your foot down, and once up to speed there's not very much engine noise, the wind noise is kept at bay. I have to say the ride is really good as well. It seems to soak up our rather lumpy, bumpy British roads. What about body roll? Because if you have a soft suspension you tend to have a good amount of body roll. You don't really want to go around a corner listing like an old wooden ship. Again, the 508 acquits itself really well. It holds itself well. There's not so much sloshing through a corner. So tick, tick, tick. It's certainly a nice thing to just waft around in. Speaking of how this car will deal with its environment, most of the time these things are likely to spend their time on the motorway, especially this specification, which, like I say, is the 1.6 diesel, more specifically with this automatic gearbox. How does the auto box cope with pottering about? Well, rather well, actually. Some Peugeot Citroën gearboxes are a bit hit and miss. This is a rather good one, I have to say. It's 6-speed. And it seems to know what it's doing the majority of the time. The changes are quite smooth and relatively unnoticeable. And it picks a relatively good ratio whenever it's left to its own devices. Using the paddles on the steering wheel, you can select a gear for yourself. Again, respectively responsive. It's no Ferrari, obviously, but for the sort of car that it is, I'm actually quite pleased with this gearbox. It matches the engine rather well. This engine gearbox combo is said to return 72 mpg combined and emit just 102 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now you may have seen our other Peugeot 508 video with the 2 litre 150 horsepower variant of this diesel engine. That car is really good, and I tell you what, it pulls like a train on the motorway. It really is a fantastic long distance hauler. What are you losing in this car other than the 30 horsepower? Well, yeah, sure, it's not quite as strong in terms of outright performance, but I'd have to say I don't really miss that 30 horsepower too much. It's still capable of really nice, strong overtaking manoeuvres on the motorway. It's still just as refined. It returns even better fuel economy, better on CO2 emissions. So I think this car is actually going to be the one that most people choose. The 1.6 I think will make a lot of sense for people. What about the interior of the car as we spend most of our time in here? Well, it's relatively well appointed. Even being the entry-level car, you get these quite comfortable fabric seats. I wish there was maybe a little bit more support on the side bolstering, but I mean the majority of people aren't going to be driving this car like it's a go-kart, so maybe that doesn't matter quite so much. But there's loads of space in here. There's plenty of leg room in the back, there's loads of headroom, nice levels of glass, there's plenty of natural light in. Instrument cluster's really nice, easy, clear to read. And of course you have the 7-inch touchscreen infotainment display for all of your needs.
It also has a decent 473 litre boot.
Behind the wheel it's quite a relaxing place to be. I really like the 508 actually. It's one of those cars that can really just knuckle down and get on with a journey, and you're not going to feel all achy and tired by the other end. The new facelifted Peugeot 508 is a good step forward over its predecessor. It adds an extra dose of style, there's plenty of standard equipment, great economy, and the price is really respectable when you factor in all of the standard equipment.
Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for more on the latest and greatest cars to hit the road. For all of the latest automotive news, written reviews and coverage from motor shows, go to www.insidelane.co.uk.